Hi, and welcome to the deep dive. Today, we want you to think about something, well, pretty profound. How do you create absolute precision when you've got this invisible force, gravity, constantly pulling on everything? And maybe even more interestingly, what if the solution to that wasn't just brilliant engineering, but also ended up being this stunning work of art, almost magical?
It really is a fascinating mix, isn't it? You've got science, you've got incredible craft, and yeah, something almost otherworldly, all packed into this tiny object you can wear.
Exactly. So today's deep dive is all about the legendary watchmaker Breguet. We're focusing on probably their most famous invention, the tourbillon, and how they're celebrating it now with a really spectacular new watch, marking 250 years of, well, watchmaking innovation.
hmm And our source material for this is great. It's drawn from a detailed look at Breguet's history and this specific new release. The piece is called Breguet's Celestial Tourbillon, 250 years of horological innovation.
Right. So our mission, yours and ours, is to unpack this amazing story. How did this groundbreaking idea from the 19th century basically fight physics? And how does the modern version, this new watch, take that even further, making it celestial and mysterious?
Yeah, we'll pull out the key bits, the history, the clever mechanics, the artistry, so you really get why this is such a big deal.
Okay, let's jump in right at the beginning. Abraham-Louis Breguet, an absolute giant in watchmaking, born 1747, lived through to 1823, and really a product of the Enlightenment, that scientific curiosity.
Totally. And the problem he zeroed in on was gravity's effect on pocket watches. Think about it. You carry a pocket watch. Sometimes it's upright in your pocket. Sometimes it's lying flat. Gravity pulls differently on the delicate moving parts inside, especially the balance wheel and escapement.
Affecting the timekeeping.
Exactly. It throws off the regularity, the accuracy.
So his solution was, well, it sounds simple when you say it, but it's incredibly complex. He put the whole escapement, the beating heart of the watch, inside a tiny cage that rotates.
Right. A mobile rotating carriage, constantly turning. The idea was to average out those gravitational errors because the crucial parts weren't stuck in one position relative to gravity for too long.
Like a tiny observatory constantly reorienting itself.
That's a great way to put it. And the name he picked, tourbillon.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Well, it wasn't just a technical name. It comes from René Descartes, the philosopher and mathematician. He used tourbillon, which means whirlpool or whirlwind in French, to describe how planets and stars rotate on an axis.
Wow, so he was deliberately connecting his mechanical invention to the cosmos right from the start.
Seems that way, yeah. Linking the earthly mechanism to celestial order. Pretty amazing foresight.
And the timing he got the patent for this on June 26, 1801. But these weren't exactly rolling off an assembly line, were they?
Oh, absolutely not. In his entire lifetime, Breguet himself only made about 35 tourbillon pocket watches
Yeah.
and maybe 5 clocks using the same principle.
So incredibly rare, incredibly complex for the time.
Definitely. These are high-end, bespoke creations, right? Masterpieces.
And they had practical uses too, right? Not just fancy timepieces.
That's a really interesting point. Emmanuel Breguet, who's head of heritage at the company now,
Yeah.
he mentions that about a quarter of these early tourbillons were actually used for naval navigation.
Calculating longitude at sea.
Exactly, where pinpoint accuracy was crucial. Imagine relying on this tiny, intricate device out on the ocean. It shows how effective it was perceived to be.
Incredible. Is there a specific example we can look at from that era?
Yeah, a great one is the Breguet Tourbillon pocket watch, number 1176, made in 1809. It was actually his third tourbillon watch, but it was the first one he made with a 4-minute tourbillon.
4 minutes, not the usual 1-minute rotation.
Right. Most tourbillons rotate once per minute. This one took 4 minutes to complete a full rotation. Just a different approach to the same problem of averaging out those errors.
And that watch still exists.
Oh, yes. It has a fascinating history. Sold originally in 1809 for 4,600 French francs to a Polish nobleman. Then, much more recently, in 2014, Breguet actually bought it back. Yeah, for 821,000 Swiss francs. Quite a sum. Is now in their museum collection.
Which is a perfect bridge to today and these 250th anniversary celebrations. This new watch, the Classique Tourbillon Sidéral 7255, it's the 4th piece in the celebration series.
That's right. And they released it very deliberately on June 26, the exact anniversary date of that original tourbillon patent. A nice historical nod.
It really connects to what their CEO, Gregory Kissling, said. We don't replicate the past, we use it as a source of inspiration. And this watch seems to do exactly that. because it's got two major firsts for Breguet, doesn't it? A flying tourbillon and a mysterious tourbillon.
Yes, exactly. Those are the big modern innovations here. Let's break them down. First, the flying tourbillon. What makes it fly?
Okay.
Well, typically, a tourbillon cage is supported by a bridge both at the bottom and the top. A flying tourbillon, though, is only supported from underneath by its lower bridge. There's no upper bridge or bar blocking the view.
Ah, so it looks like it's floating or flying because you don't see that top support.
Precisely. But that creates a huge engineering challenge, right?
I'd imagine so. How do you keep it stable and balanced without that top pivot point?
It has to be built incredibly solidly. The adjustment needs to be perfect. The balance has to be spot on. It's much harder to execute well than a traditional tourbillon.
And the visual effect here must be quite dramatic.
Oh, definitely. They've really leaned into it. The tourbillon mechanism is physically raised up. It actually protrudes 2.2 millimeters above the main plate of the movement
Wow.
and almost a millimeter, 0.9 millimeter above the enamel dial itself. It gives it this amazing 3D quality, the whole watch design, the proportions, everything seems built around showcasing this tourbillon. Maybe it looked like a little celestial body hovering there.
Okay, that's the flying part. Now, what about the mysterious complication? What makes it mysterious?
So mysterious complication usually means some part of the mechanism is hidden, making its function seem, well, magical. Think of old mystery clocks where the hands seem to float in the glass with no visible connection to the movement.
Right, so how does that apply to the tourbillon here?
It's incredibly clever. They've made the lower bridge, the parts supporting the flying tourbillon from underneath, and the lower support of the tourbillon cage itself out of sapphire glass.
Sapphire, like the crystal on the front of the watch.
Exactly. Sapphire is incredibly hard, scratch-resistant, and crucially, almost perfectly transparent.
So those support parts just disappear visually.
Pretty much. They blend into the background. It hides the point where the gears connect to the carriage, making it look like the tourbillon is truly suspended in space with no visible means of support or drive.
That is spellbinding, flying and mysterious.
It really enhances that celestial feeling. And that theme continues right onto the dial. They've used Aventurine Grand Feu enamel, another first for Breguet.
Aventurine, that's the glass with the sparkly bits in it. Looks like a night sky.
Exactly. It ties back beautifully to A.L. Breguet's own interest in astronomy.
And Grand Feu enamel, that's a difficult process, isn't it?
Extremely. Grand Feu means great fire. They crush the aventurine glass into a powder. Then they apply it in layers, 5 layers here, onto a solid gold dial base. Each layer has to be fired in a kiln at around 800 degrees Celsius.
Goodness.
Yeah, it's very high risk. Things can easily crack or warp. But the result, if successful, is this incredibly deep, rich blue sparkling dial that's also very durable.
A miniature universe on the wrist. What else is on the dial?
Well, obviously the big opening for that amazing tourbillon, framed by a raised gold ring. Then up at the 12 o'clock position, you have an off-center hour ring. It's gold, but it has a blue PVD coating.
PV.
Physical vapor deposition. It's a modern coating technique, very thin and hard, used here for the blue color. And you've got classic Breguet Arabic numerals, the open-tip Breguet hands in gold, plus those little Breguet touches the secret signature and tiny applied gold labels for Breguet tourbillon kind of on the equator line of the dial.
Beautiful details. And the case, you mentioned it's a special gold for the anniversary.
Yes, like the other 250th anniversary models. It's an 18-karat proprietary Breguet gold alloy. Mostly gold, of course, 75%. But they've enriched it with silver, copper, and palladium.
What's special about this blend?
It was developed specifically for this anniversary. The idea was to evoke the look of 18th century gold. It has this subtle pinkish hue, quite warm, and apparently is very resistant to tarnishing or discoloration over time.
And the size feels quite classic.
Very much so. It's 38 millimeters in diameter, which is quite compact by modern standards, especially for such a complex watch, and just 10.2 millimeters thick.
That's pretty slim for a tourbillon, isn't it? Especially one that protrudes like that.
It is, and they make a point that the tourbillon itself is really what dictates the height of the movement, the caliber, and therefore the overall case thickness. You also get the signature Breguet case details the fine fluting around the edge of the case band and those straight welded lugs where the strap attaches. Very traditional.
And they haven't forgotten about guilloché, have they? That engine-turned engraving is so linked to Breguet.
Absolutely not. A.L. Breguet introduced it way back in 1786. And it wasn't just decorative, although it is beautiful. It helped make dials easier to read by reducing reflections, and it was also an anti-counterfeiting measure because it was so hard to copy.
Clever. So what pattern have they used here?
It's a brand new pattern created just for this anniversary series. It's called Quai de l'horloge.
The clock key.
Exactly. It's inspired by the River Seine, specifically how it curves around the Ile de la Cité in Paris, which is where Breguet first set up his workshops back in 1755. A lovely historical connection.
Where do we see this pattern on the watch?
It's mainly visible on the case back, the tourbillon support structure there, and the main plate of the movement itself. It adds this incredible texture and depth.
Okay, let's talk about that movement, the engine inside. Caliber 1-E'd 7M1.
Right. It's a manual winding movement, so you have to wind it up yourself.
No automatic rotor.
No. And its history is interesting, too. It's basically a reinterpretation of an important modern Breguet movement. The caliber used in the reference 3350, which was launched in 1990.
Ugh.
The first Breguet tourbillon wristwatch of the modern era.
That's the one. That original movement, the caliber 558, was actually developed by the famous independent watchmaker Daniel Roth for Breguet back then.
So this new caliber builds on that legacy. What are the key specs?
It's 30 millimeters wide, 4.8 millimeters thick. But remember, that doesn't include the 2.2 millimeter height of the tourbillon itself sticking up.
Right.
It beats at 2.5 hertz, which is 18,000 vibrations per hour. A fairly traditional, slower beat rate, often used for tourbillon, allows for a nice view of the mechanism, and it has a power reserve of 50 hours.
Decent power reserve.
Yeah.
And modern upgrades. Anti-magnetism.
Yes, absolutely crucial these days. It's fitted with a Nivacron balance spring. Nivacron is a modern alloy that's highly resistant to magnetism, which is everywhere now. Phones, laptops, speakers. It also handles temperature changes and minor shocks really well, all contributing to better, more stable timekeeping.
So it's got the historical lineage, but with modern reliability. Precisely. One other small point, unlike some other open-worked Breguet tourbillon, like the Messidor 5335, this movement keeps most of its mechanics hidden behind solid gold bridges on the back.
Keeping the focus firmly on that amazing, flying, mysterious tourbillon on the front.
Exactly. That's clearly the star.
And just to round it off the strap, availability, price.
Comes out a very nice navy blue alligator strap, matches the dial perfectly, with an 18K Breguet gold folding clasp, a triple blade one, and, as you'd expect, it's highly exclusive, a limited edition of just 50 numbered pieces.
50 worldwide.
Yeah.
And the price tag reflects that exclusivity.
It does. It's priced at 190,000 Swiss francs, including tax.
So, stepping back from the details, this watch really feels like a culmination, doesn't it?
It really does. You see centuries of thinking compressed into one piece. You've got A.L. Breguet's original genius tackling that fundamental problem of gravity, and then the modern brand taking that foundation and pushing it into new territory, aesthetically and technically, using that history as inspiration, not just copying it.
Yeah, it's this incredible blend of a precision instrument, something designed to measure time accurately against physics. And at the same time, it's undeniably a piece of art. It tells a story about, I don't know, human ingenuity, our fascination with the stars, with perfection.
Turning that mechanical problem into something, as they say, celestial and mysterious. It's quite poetic, actually.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? In our world today, everything's so instant, so digital. What does it say about us, about human nature, that we still pour so much effort and artistry into perfecting these tiny, intricate mechanical machines designed essentially to defy gravity, just to measure time, and making them beautiful, almost magical in the process? What does that enduring fascination tell us?
That's a great question to ponder. Perhaps it speaks to a deeper need for connection to craft, to history, maybe even to those celestial mechanics Breguet himself was referencing all those years ago.